Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and the past couple of weeks have been filled with news from Apple, everything from their April Apple event showing off the new iMacs, iPads Pro, Apple TV, and more, to the release of iOS 14.5, 14.6 betas, and iOS 14.5.1 yesterday. And during that time, there's been a bunch of new updated news about the iPhone 13, iOS 15 features, MacBook Pros, and more. This is your news update for the week of May 2nd, 2021. And the first thing has to do with the new feature App Tracking Transparency, or ATT. If you go into your settings and then scroll down to Privacy and then Tracking, you may have already seen this feature, and of course at this point you probably know about it, but it wasn't active until iOS 14.5, and this has caused quite a stir among different companies, specifically Facebook and Instagram, who's owned by Facebook. And this specific feature blocks the ability for apps to track or share information across different apps and know what you're doing. And Facebook is now saying that if you don't enable this with a pop-up in their Facebook app and Instagram at times, if you see this, it's telling you if you don't enable this, Facebook and Instagram may no longer remain free. And so this is something that I generally say is up to the user, of course, whether or not you want to share your data, but whether or not Facebook and Instagram are threatening to be free or not is something that I think is a bit odd, since Facebook makes money off of ads as well. So this is just something that I thought I'd inform you of. Generally, I recommend you turn this off, stop allowing anything to track. If you turn it on, you'll be prompted, but if it's off, it won't be prompting you at all, and it will just block everything. Now, if this is grayed out for you, quite a few people have been messaging me saying this is still grayed out, and there could be a few users according to a new Apple support document they've released. And that says, so if maybe you're a child or 18 years or younger, and you're managed by a parent, this could be grayed out. It also could be grayed out if you're managed by an educational institution, or maybe your Apple ID was created in the last 3 days. Some people still don't meet those criteria and are seeing it grayed out. It should be fixed with iOS 14.6. Now, as far as iPhone 13, well, the iPhone 13 is still being ramped up in production, and according to the Korean website The Elec, the expected display is said to be made by Samsung exclusively. Now, this is sort of a mock-up of what the iPhone 13 or iPhone 12 Pro Max is, what it was supposed to represent that never came to be, looks like, but this actually runs Android, but I just thought I'd use it for show. And at this point, the expected 120 hertz display is definitely coming to the Pro models of the iPhone 13, according to all the sources that are building the phone. And also, Apple's working on the fingerprint sensor. So many people are saying that we should see an under-the-display fingerprint sensor, and this was again reiterated by a patent that Apple actually had rejected in the European Union for lacking an inventive step. So they're definitely working on it, where you would just put your finger down, much like other phones, but maybe they wanted to do it in a more secure way if that's possible. So they're still working on it, and hopefully we'll see that in the future. Now, we still expect a similar design like we have with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This was the big leap this year, where we'd have the squared off edges and similar design with maybe an updated camera. And most recent leaks are showing that the camera on the 12 and 12 mini, for example, will be in a diagonal direction with a square instead of a rectangle for the camera bump. So instead of it being vertical, top down, it would be from top left to bottom right. So it looks like we could have that design, which would help differentiate it between the 12 and the 13. So that seems to be what the new design will look like next year, or in September when they show those off. Also, I thought I'd share with you a futuristic design that Antonio De Rosa sent to me, and thought you might enjoy this. Let me know what you think about this design in the comments below, if maybe an iPhone could look like this. Now, with the release of the new iPads Pro, and specifically the 12.9-inch variant that has the new mini LED display, it appears that it's going to be very expensive if you crack the display. Apple has said that it's $699 if you crack the new mini LED display and you don't have Apple Care Plus. So it looks like it's a recommendation to get Apple Care Plus, whether that be monthly or just pay for it up front, because the display is incredibly expensive if you crack it. Thankfully, I've never cracked the display, but I do have Apple Care Plus on my iPad Pro just in case, because it's so expensive to fix. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. And then also at the event where they showed the iPad Pro, Apple was expected to launch the new iPad mini and it never showed up. According to Ming Chi Kuo, that was now delayed to the end of 2021 or the second half of 2021. Maybe that's due to silicon shortages or something along those lines, but it seems like it's still coming soon, but it shouldn't have any new design. It will look like what we have now based on what people have said, but at this point, it should be coming with maybe some updated silicon, maybe the A14, for example. So we'll have to wait and see as far as that goes. Now, as far as AirPods, we thought we'd see AirPods 3 at that Apple event also, and they never showed up. However, recent information based off iOS 14.6 Beta 2 shows that Apple apparently plans to launch a hi-fi service for Apple Music. So maybe we'll have some high-fidelity options for Apple Music, and then along with that, we would get the new AirPods 3 that are said to launch in the coming weeks. So we would not necessarily get AirPods Pro 2, but AirPods 3 very soon. Maybe they'll have some hi-fi codec that allows you to listen in better quality, or maybe not. Maybe they'll reserve that for the AirPods Max, but we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like they're coming very, very soon. They're ready to go. We thought we'd see them already, but they should be soon. Now, as far as iOS 14.6 Beta 3, based off what Apple is doing, I would expect it as soon as maybe the end of this week. Apple surprisingly released iOS 14.6 Beta 2 at the end of last week on Friday, the 30th of April, and maybe we'll see it later this week with Beta 3, as it's expected to release to the public sometime around the 21st. With the release of iOS 14.6 and iPadOS 14.6, that adds support for the upcoming iPads Pro, as well as the new iMac with macOS 11.4. So those things are said to be ready by that time, unless Apple pushes out a smaller update like they did yesterday, maybe a 14.5.2 to support that. It looks like we could expect 14.6 on the 21st or that week. So it looks like Apple's moving very rapidly with this version. And then, of course, iOS 15, which we'll see Beta 1 on the 7th. Now, with Beta 1, we expect that to release on the 7th along with WWDC, but there's some new features that have been sort of mentioned by other people in the past and are now being mentioned by Mark Gurman of Bloomberg. So he's saying that specifically with iOS 15, we could have a redesigned iPad home screen. On iPad, it's said that we'll be able to move the widgets around finally. Now, this has been rumored for quite some time, even with iPadOS 14, but it seems like those in the know have seen this and said that you'll be able to move them wherever you'd like, as well as it having an updated lock screen with new notification changes, more customization on the lock screen, better notifications, a new control center as well, and also additional changes to things like privacy. So not only app tracking transparency, but even more privacy controls. So we should see all of those according to Mark Gurman and other leakers as well that talked about some of those earlier. Mark Gurman tends to be pretty accurate when it comes to iOS updates though. So I look forward to that in just about a month or so at this point. Now, when it comes to MacBooks, a hacker group tried to extort Apple for money by leaking schematics of upcoming MacBooks. And I'm not going to mention who that hacker group is, and thankfully they've pulled that information, but it seems to confirm what we already knew, is that we're going to have new ports. So we're not only going to have just Thunderbolt ports, but it looks like we're going to have MagSafe back. And then maybe on the other side, or the same side, we'll have a headphone jack as well as HDMI and an SD card slot finally, again, brought back to the Mac. So it looks like all of these things are coming soon, and they're going to eliminate the touch bar. This has long been rumored, and the touch bar is something that I rarely find myself using, and I would like the option not to have it. I love that it has Touch ID, but as far as the touch bar, I find it more of an annoyance personally, and I never use it just because I use it for volume and brightness mostly. Some people really love it, but it's something that looks to be going away. Now, as far as a foldable iPhone, well, Apple is still working on that, but according to Ming Chi Kuo, or Kuo Ming Chi, he's saying it will now have an 8-inch QHD Plus OLED display and launch in 2023. So we could see a folding iPhone as soon as maybe 2022 for developers just to see it, or maybe they'll wait until 2023 to show it and release it. But it's said to come in multiple sizes as well, and that it's being worked on regularly. So that seems to make sense. that Apple is sort of investigating new ways to do things with iPhones, so we'll have to wait and see if they do that. Maybe an iPhone that turns into an iPad or something similar. So we'll have to wait and see with that, as well as Apple Glasses. Now, Apple Glasses are still in development, and apparently were originally going to be starting production in the first quarter of 2022. However, it seems that Apple has slowed development according to a new report from DigiTimes, and it could be for any number of reasons. However, Mark Gurman of Bloomberg has said that the glasses are at least a couple years away. So we could see that, but it does look like the mixed reality headset, which is something separate, more like a VR headset, is said to launch in 2022 still, according to Kuo Ming Chi. So we'll have to wait and see if that's something they actually do. And we already have augmented reality with our iPhones and iPads where we can scan rooms, place objects in rooms, use their Clips app and overlay things. But right now we have to wait and see what Apple has planned. They definitely seem interested in it though. And then finally, the Apple Watch Series 7 will be coming hopefully around the same time as the next iPhones. And it's said that Apple is working with Rockley Photonics to add maybe blood glucose and blood pressure monitoring to the Apple Watch. That company has sensors for those things, and if they could incorporate them into this watch, apparently other companies are working with them also, but if they could incorporate a non-invasive way to check blood glucose, it would pretty much be game-changing for a lot of people. So I would love to see them add that. Hopefully it'll be as soon as September, but it may take a couple years for that to show up. There are also other rumors that they could redesign the Apple Watch with a new design. I know a lot of people would really like a rounded Apple Watch where it's no longer squared or sort of a squared off rectangle like this one. Most people I know that don't have an Apple Watch say it's because they want a round one instead of this shape. So we could see something different, maybe not, but with its interface the way it currently is, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, although for some, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. I'm looking most forward to iOS 15 and iPadOS 15, and specifically with the new iPad Pro, with the new M1, it seems like there is a lot of potential there for Apple to do something big with iPadOS. So I can't wait to see that in a little bit of time, and also new MacBooks as well. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.